Hi. So, let's talk about how you go from being triggered to empowered. There's a number of different ways, but most importantly, you really need to, do you know what really triggers you? Do when you get into that fight or flight, what's behind it, or the anger or the depression or whatever it is, what is happening at the time that triggers you? So, through the course of my journey, all the work that I've done, I discovered I had several different triggers. So, one was anger. If anybody was angry or anybody was angry at another person, it sent me into orbit. I absolutely cannot, even to this day, have great difficulty with that. So, if somebody is harassing or abusing another, I really, that's a big trigger for me. And I had to really kind of get myself into a space where I could be more calm and objective and understand, do I have a role in this? Do I not? Okay, what am I empowered to do? Is that call 911 or is it, walk away? All right. So you really have to understand what it is that might be triggering you so that you can turn it into empowerment. Another thing that really used to trigger me was scarcity. So when I was, 30 years, I drove a limo and I raised my kids, with that great flexible schedule. But what else happened with that flexible schedule is during the winter, there weren't proms or concerts. This was up in, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York area. So we didn't have, a market that was really booming in certain months of the year. So it was very easy for me to get triggered in scarcity. And how did I move from that space to empowerment was that I began to realize there were certain things within my control and certain things that were not. So as I began to pave like a really healthy environment for me and a healthy road for me to be on, that I call it debris cleaning. Okay. So it's kind of like your computer, right? You need to defrag it every once in a while and kind of clean it out. I did that with things around me, whether they were people, experiences, literally in my home space. I mean, keeping things neat and orderly, I was less to trigger when I felt in great order. So that really empowered me greatly when I was able to recognize the things that I could control, which was really me, my reactions, my thoughts, and my patterns. That's what I had great control over. So once I began to realize I had a lot more power than I gave myself credit for, things began to trigger me less and less and less. So basically, you know what? If I was broke, that was my doing. Those were the choices that I made. I made choices that I was in a job that, yeah, hey, I had great freedom. I worked when I want to. I didn't work when I didn't. I've always operated like that. I do not do well when someone tells me I have to be somewhere. That's with great difficulty. Those are choices that I want to make for myself. So I really don't do well when someone says, hey, you got to do this. Yeah, I don't really know. I kind of go in the other direction. But anyways, that's a whole other topic. So I decided, if I was going to be broke, that was my choice. So multiple streams of income became very important for me. I just started to do other things that I loved. Another trigger for me was, obviously freedom, man, that is huge for me. That's my most important value. So when something violated a value that I really strongly upheld within myself, it was a trigger. And how could I empower myself from that was to really just kind of go, all right, you know what? Wait a minute. What can I do? What is this? Sit and really a couple of deep breaths. What is this? What am I doing? What am I thinking? How do I want to react? And can anything good come from it? So really had to take stock in myself. It was nobody else's BS, but my own. So I really just started looking at things differently. What's the opportunity in this? So I'm working a job that, a couple of months out of the year, I'm kind of really having a difficult time with that. And that trigger would produce anger and more scarcity. And it was very difficult. So I learned to really get great and creative with my money. I was making a lot of it during prom and wedding season. I learned to allocate for those slower months. And then I picked up other things that I really loved, such as becoming a wedding planner and, my part-time job with Delta. I mean, there were things that I did that I loved. So I didn't feel triggered so much anymore. So, and then the next was relationships, right? That's a really difficult thing, because there are people in our life and there are family members that do trigger us. And, one of the big triggers for me is when, somebody is suffering and they just want to replay the same loop of suffering year after year after year. The story is the same. And I have a difficult time with that because I feel very powerless that I can't help them. So I have to take great strides and I have to take a lot of deep breaths to get myself in a space of let them. I love you no matter what. It's tough to watch somebody suffer. I don't spend a lot of time in it. I do move away from that, but I do acknowledge people and, just kind of leave them where they're at. So those triggers were very difficult. That's a work in progress. I don't think that ever gets easy, because we're human and we care. So recognizing what your triggers are and then figuring out ways to turn that into your empowerment is so possible, but it really takes some patience. It takes some time. It takes some great self-study and really just listening to you. If you begin to hear yourself saying the same loop over and over, oh my God, you know what? It's just miserable. I don't know. I'd rather be at work because it's miserable at home. Well, I'd rather be somewhere else because it's miserable at work. Pay attention to that. Really pay attention to that. And how can you empower yourself? And, don't let yourself give yourself excuses. It's really easy to go, yeah, but you know what? I'm in my 50s. How the hell am I going to ever get out of this? I can't. I got to pay the bills. Well, you know what? That is definitely true if you say it. You say it, it's true. But if you say, you know what? I'm worth a fresh start. This is my only chance at life. It's not dress rehearsal. I don't get to come back and be a better version of myself. I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can today. And how can I do that? Because honestly, guys, if you want to get out of where you are, make a decision to do it, or else you're going to continue to play that very same loop over and over and over again. I hope that helps. I know it's difficult, right? When I tell you you got to do the work, I'm not shitting around. It's really work, but it is the most incredible, amazing work you will ever do. The journey is so amazing. I wish that I could convey that to you. I wish that there was a way for me to just give you a big hug and go, you have no idea the magic that's right around the corner. It's too powerful for words. Another thing that I did when I was triggered, I drank. Here was my bullshit, right? Oh my God, it's just terrible. I can't believe that so-and-so died. This is horrible what I'm going through. I just need to drink. I need to drink. I need to drink. I never drank because my life was hell. I did not drink because people died. I did not drink because I was broke. I did not drink because my relationship was really horrible and just very difficult. Those were not the reasons I drank. I drank because I didn't want to feel. I drank because I didn't understand my emotions. I covered them up with drugs and booze because it was easier than sitting in myself going, what is happening to me? Why do I feel this way? And really peeling off the layers like an onion. I didn't want to do that. It was so much easier to drink. And I mean, trust me, I know, right? I get you where you are. Triggers are really difficult to navigate. But if you can learn to turn that into your power, it's a magic I can't ever describe to you. I hope this helps. Please let me know. Send me a message. I get a lot of messages when I do a longer video and when I talk about things that are relative to me. And I only do that because I can speak from great experience. So if there's something that resonates or something you're going through that, you really just don't want to throw out in a public forum, don't stop texting me. I'll always respond. I will always get back to you. Send me an instant message. I don't see those as quickly, but I will always respond. All right, guys, I hope this helps, and I hope that you really do enjoy the journey. Take care.